In a full moment of disclosure, I don't listen to Stephen A. Smith. Don't care for Stephen A. Smith. I think he's a Boeotian, a dimwit, a loudmouth, and whatever observations he's made about anything, I've never paid it any attention. So I cannot speak to his sagacity and pellucidity and limpidity as to that which he speaks. I think he's a bombast and, frankly, borderlines, if not traverses, the level of cretinism. However, very popular, sports analyst, whatever, it's a free country, knock yourself out. Jason Whitlock, also not particularly familiar with him, saw him a couple of times on Tucker and immediately turned it off, because if there was someone who probably exemplified, let me clean this up, no shite obviousness, it's Jason Whitlock. So you got two people. And again, I just want to, there are very few people I listen to. Neither of them will ever be confused with John Mearsheimer or Niels Bohr or anybody else for that matter. Now, but what's interesting to note, and this is what I want you to notice, this has to do with the continuation of the Cat Williams, and to an extent the Aaron Rodgers, but the Cat Williams mentioning of the installed, the chosen few, the available, the immediately acceptable, the approved. Hollywood, as you know, we call them the chosen few. And the words gatekeepers and all of this lingo, this is so terrific because, as I'm telling you, in the sports and comedy and African American and rap, there's this new level of controversy which has my name all over it. It deals with what is called by some conspiracy theories. Mr. Whitlock is called a right-winger, a racist. That's it. Say no more. You do know that there are no white supremacists in the world. None. None. And this may even surprise you even more. There's nothing against the law about being a white supremacist. You could be a white supremacist, a black supremacist, or a white inferiorist. Whatever you want. It's an ideology. And it's one of these bumper sticker playbook, echo chamber kind of, nonsense, this rubber stamp phrase, which means nothing. But what's happened is that Whitlock has taken the more of the conservative take, and that immediately is met with disfavor. So you know what? I like him. Anybody who goes against the grain, I always like. I may not particularly care for. For example, there are people, I always thought that the Sex Pistols, I hated their music, but loved what they did. Loved what they meant. Loved the reaction of people from their particular music, though I don't like the music. Does that make sense to you? Okay, good. So we have that. Aaron Rodgers this past week. Aaron Rodgers and Jimmy Kimmel and this bitch-slapping nonsense, this little kerfuffle, this catty, I don't know what that was. But Aaron Rodgers is attacked by another one of the chosen few, by the gatekeepers, Jimmy Kimmel, because he didn't like and was told to go after him regarding his COVID comments. And by the way, in view of, or some would say in lieu of, which makes no sense, but in view of what happened this week regarding Fauci, it's so apropos, it's not even remotely funny. So we have that to think about, okay? Then we had, of course, the inimitable, the ineffable, the one, the only, Cat Williams, who talks also about those who are installed, those who are placed, those who are the chosen few, from what appears to be some higher level, he calls it Illuminati, shadow government, that group of people. Mr. Nas X, who decided to wax heretical and blasphemous, Anenton regarding Jesus Christ, also fell into disfavor because he didn't ask for permission. Now, if you're Life of Brian, if you're Monty Python, if you're Last Temptation of Christ, if you're Scorsese, if you're anybody else, that's okay. So what I'm trying to say here is simply this. Again, Stephen Smith, I think, is a cretin. But that doesn't mean you can't be very successful at what he does. And again, I'm hesitating somewhat because I don't know what he says. But like someone years ago said, old trial lawyer said, you don't have to eat the whole egg to know it's rotten. And you don't have to watch an hour and a half of the best of Mr. Smith to realize that little Stephen is as I said, borderline cretinous. But my friend, I think this presages, it portends, it waxes vatic, pythonic, it augurs the future. Reading the entrails of the beast, 2024 is going to be a reevaluation, a reestablishment, and a destruction of what used to be called the usual suspect, the accepted, the blessed. Jimmy Kimmel, you're fine. Look at Hollywood. Barbra Streisand, George Clooney, Spielberg, the usual. Oprah. One of these. Who the hell is Oprah? Where did this come from? It's almost like, and I'm not making any connection, but it's just like Epstein overnight became, he's a financier, he's a hedge funder, he's a currency trader. Where did he come from? Nobody's yet to ask that. We'll get to that. I'm making no comparison. I'm making no suggestion. I'm just saying, nobody's ever asked, Oprah, where did this come from? What did you do? What is this? But I mean, listen, let's face it. She's blessed. She's one of the chosen. She's there to follow the orders of the shadow government. Do what we say, and you will be rewarded handsomely. The same way these folks in big tech. These great stories about how, Mark Zuckerberg was at his Harvard class. I think we can come up with a way to let people, and then Facebook was born. Yeah, okay, all right. And Bill Gates worked with Paul Allen in the garage, and lo and behold, here come the computers that happen to go into every home in the world and every business and left a big wide open gap for viruses and governmental truth. But anyway, Bill Gates, and now look at Bill Gates. So we're seeing this. Now what I'm saying to you, please get this out of the way. I'm a conspiracy theorist. Thank you. Translation, you're right. Nobody's ever called a conspiracy theorist for saying something crazy. Nobody's ever been talking about it. You don't hear flat earthers or people who think that Elvis is alive or whatever. You never hear these people referenced. You only hear people who speak what is the truth. You only take flack when you're over the target. Or like Gore Vidal says, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, I'm a conspiracy analyst. So let me just leave it right there. Keep an eye on this. Mr. Whitlock, I'm going to follow you. I like what you say because Mr. Smith is cretinous. And I love when people, I love a challenge. I love a work. I love heat. I love wrestling. I love it. I like a shoot. And this is a shoot. And when this Boeotian, this monosyllabic little Stephen comes out yelling this, I love it. I would be less than candid if I didn't say to you how much I loved it. Now, what do you think about it? Who's right? Who's wrong? In the Smith versus Whitlock kerfuffle, the throwdown, who do you think's right? Who's wrong? Thanks for watching. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment as you see fit.